This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. China's diesel exports in August surged from a year earlier and have nearly tripled so far in 2023 compared to the same time a year ago, data showed on Monday, as refiners take advantage of strong regional refining margins to ship fuel overseas. Exports of diesel, the biggest fuel by share of refinery output, last month totaled 1.26 million metric tons, up 51.5% from last year's 830,000 tons, data from the General Administration of Customs showed. Total diesel exports for the first 8 months of the year are up 197.2% versus the same period in 2022.
Our prices for Russia's Far East ESPO Blend crude oil loading from the port of Kozmino in October have firmed to a premium of more than 50 cents against ICE Brent on a delivery basis in Chinese ports, several traders familiar with the matter said. This means the price has climbed back to levels seen prior to sanctions and a price cap on Russian oil, they added. ESPO Blend crude oil, Russia's flagship grade in Asian market loading from the Kozmino port, used to trade at a premium to both the Brent and Dubai benchmarks as its quality and close loading point made it very popular among refiners in China.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
The European Union risks becoming as dependent on China for lithium-ion batteries and fuel cells by 2030 as it was on Russia for energy before the Ukraine war unless it takes action, a paper prepared for EU leaders ahead of an October summit said. The document, obtained by Reuters, was compiled by the current Spanish presidency of the EU and will be the basis of discussions on Europe's economic security during a meeting of the bloc's leaders in Granada in Spain on October 5. Worried by China's growing global assertiveness and economic weight, the leaders will discuss European Commission proposals to reduce the risk of Europe becoming too dependent on China and the need to diversify towards Africa and Latin America.
With oil investors and traders focused on an oil price rally that has come close to $100 a barrel, some grades of crude oil are already trading above that milestone, highlighting an expectation of tight supply. The outright price of Nigerian crude Quaibo surpassed $100 a barrel on Monday, according to LSEG data Quai. Malaysian crude tapas reached $101.30 last week, said Björn Schildrup, analyst at Swedish bank SEB, in a report. Oil has risen to its highest level of 2023 as investors are focused on the prospect of a supply deficit in the fourth quarter after Saudi Arabia and Russia extended supply cuts. The two are the biggest producers in the OPEC Plus group, most other members of which are also curbing output.
Next, we have the top news in metal markets.
Iron ore futures dipped on Monday after solid gains in the previous week, as negative headlines related to China's property sector prompted caution. The steelmaking ingredients benchmark October contract on the Singapore exchange was down 0.9% at $121.90 per metric ton, as of 0710 GMT. It earlier slumped to $119.60, pulling back sharply from Friday's 6-month peak of $123.75. The most traded January iron ore on China's Dalian Commodity Exchange ended daytime trade 0.2% lower at 871 yuan and 50 fen, $119.53 per ton.
Gold prices gained on Monday, helped by a slight pullback in the dollar as investors awaited a series of key central bank policy meetings this week, with the U.S. Federal Reserve widely expected to hit pause on interest rate hikes. Spot gold was up 0.5% to $1,932.49 per ounce by 1:42 p.m. Eastern Time, 17:42 GMT. U.S. gold futures settled 0.4% higher at $1,953.40. The U.S. dollar slipped 0.3% against its rivals, making gold less expensive for other currency holders. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. Importers in China have bought large amounts of French wheat in the past week, with traders referring to between 5 and 10 cargoes of about 60,000 tons each, in what would be their first purchase of French wheat this season, traders said. The sales, thought to have mostly taken place late last week, were believed to be for shipment between November and March, the traders said.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.